जैनेश्वर और जननदेवा 1221 से 91 तक फाउंडर ऑफ भक्ति इन महाराष्ट्र रोट कमेंट्री ऑन भगवत गीता भगवती दीपिका नामदेव 70 से 1350 तक वरकरी सेक्ट का फाउंडर था विद्यालय विष्णु रामदास रोट दशाबोधा compiler relation of her sermons. Shiva against the caste system, Vedic rituals founded Lingayat or was seer Ditva sect, initially the Jaina and the ministry in the court of the Chalukya king in the 12th century. अब सिख गुरु के बारे में गुरु era of Sikhism from the birth of Namdev 1469 through the life of Guru Gobind Singh and the time of Guru Gobind Singh death is 1708. He passed the title of Guru to Sikh sculptures Guru Nanak Jayanti Guru Granth. Three things to abolish untouchability: लंगर, पंगत और संगत. लंगर मतलब कम्युनिटी किचन, संगत मतलब डिसीजन मेकिंग, पंगत मतलब ईटिंग. गुरु नानक देव सिखिज्म का फाउंडर था, founded the Sikh path. He started the institution of Guru का लंगर. He was the contemporary of Mughal Empire. बाबर का contemporary था गुरु नानक देव 1469 to 1539 तक इसका ड्यूरेशन था. फिर गुरु अंगद देव, पहला था गुरु नानक देव. गुरु नानक देव एंड सेकंड गुरु अंगद देव. फिफ्टीन 39 to 1552 invented and introduced the Gurmukhi written form of Punjabi script, compiled the writing of Nanak Dev, Guru Nanak Dev, Guru Angad Dev. Compilation of the writings of Nanak Dev, Guru Granth Sahib in Gurmukhi script. Palghat लंगर जो है स्टार्ट इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ गुरु का लंगर. गुरु का लंगर कौन स्टार्ट किया? गुरु नानक देव. ये कंटेम्प्रेरी था मुगल एम्पायर का. क्या फाउंड किया था? सिखिज्म फेथ का गुरु नानक देव 1469 to 1539 तक. फिर 1539 to 1552 तक गुरु अंगद देव आता है. इन्वेंटेड था इंट्रोड्यूस ऑफ गुरुमुक्ति रिटन फॉर्म ऑफ पंजाबी स्क्रिप्ट इंट्रोड्यूस किया अंगद देव. कंपाइल्ड द राइटिंग ऑफ नानक देव इन गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब इन गुरुमुखी स्क्रिप्ट. इसके बाद आता है थर्ड नंबर में अमरदास साहिब. पहले गुरु नानक देव, अंगद देव, फिर अमरदास साहिब. अमरदास गुरु साहिब 1252 से 1574 तक. इंट्रोड्यूस द अंगद आनंद कराज मैरिज सेरेमनी फॉर द सिक्स. एस्टैब्लिश्ड मंजी और पेरी सिस्टम ऑफ रिलीजियस रिलेशनशिप फॉर मेन एंड वुमेन रेस्पेक्टिव. डेवलप मल अलखारा. ही वाज द कंटेम्पररी ऑफ मुगल एम्पायर. अकबर का कंटेम्पररी कौन था? अमरदास साहिब. कौन था? गुरु अमरदास साहिब 1552 to 74. आता है गुरु रामदास 74 से 81 तक. फाउंडेड द सिटी अमृतसर. सिटी जो है स्टैब्लिश कौन किया गया था? रामदास. गुरु रामदास. स्टार्टेड द कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ द फेमस गोल्डन टेम्पल एट. स्टार्ट किया था बट कंप्लीट करने का कोई डिस्कशन नहीं. कौन स्टार्ट किया था? गुरु रामदास स्टार्टेड द कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ द फेमस टेम्पल गोल्डन टेम्पल एट अमृतसर, द होली सिटी ऑफ सिखिज्म. He requested the Muslim Sufi Myanmar to lay the corner of the Harmandir Sahib. रहने के लिए बोला. lay the corner of Harmandir Sahib. फोर्थ में गुरु गुरु रामदास, चौथे से एकादश रामदास। इसके बाद गुरु अर्जुन देव आता है फिफ्थ नंबर में। पहला है गुरु नानक देव, सेकंड में गुरु अंगद देव, फिर अमरदास देव, अमरदास साहिब था, फिर गुरु रामदास, फिर अर्जुन अर्जुन देव पांच में। फिफ्थ नंबर में अर्जुन देव आता है। इसका सेशन कब था? 1581 टू 16 He compiled the Adi Granth and the sculpture of the Sikhism. He compiled the constitution of Sri Darbar Sahib. गोल्डन टेन में दरबार साहब ने कंप्लीट किया था श्री दरबार साहब। और अर्जुन देव, Jahangir ordered his execution, thus he was held as a Sahidan de Sartaj, the crown of martyrs. Sahidan de Sartaj। गुरु हरगोविंद सिंह सिक्स्थ गुरु था। अर्जुन देव, अर्जुन देव सिक्स्थ में, गुरु हरगोविंद सिंह। ये जो मिलिट्री हेड, ये अपना ऐसा गुरु था जो मिलिट्री सोल्जर्स रखा करता था। son of Guru Arjan Dev and was known as Soldier Saints, the first Guru to take up arms to defend the faith, and he waged arms against Mughal ruler Jahangir and Shah Jahan. Executed by Jahangir. Guru Har Rai Sahib, seventh Guru था। He gave the shelter to Dara Sikho, the eldest son of the Mughal ruler Shah Jahan, who was later persecuted by Aurangzeb. Avoid conflict with Emperor Aurangzeb and devoted his effort to the missionary work. हर राय साहब, इससे पहले हरगोविंद सिंह था। हर राय साहिब, हरगोविंद साहिब 1644 to 1661. He gave the Sultan Dara Sikho, the eldest son of the Mughal ruler Shah Jahan, and was later persecuted by Aurangzeb. Avoid conflict with Emperor Aurangzeb and devoted his effort to the missionary work. फिर गुरु हर कृष्ण कृष्ण साहिब 1661 to 64, एट गुरु था सिखिज्म का। सिक्सटीन 61 to 64. Hargobind Krishna was the youngest of the gurus at the age of 5 years. He was the contemporary of Aurangzeb and summoned at Delhi by him under framed change of anti-Islamic elastic diet of smallpox की वजह से गुरु हरकृष्ण सिंह साहिब डेथ हो गया था स्मॉल पॉक्स। गुरु तेग बहादुर साहिब नाइन्थ गुरु था। तेग बहादुर 1665 to 1675 he established the town of Anandpur. He opposed the forced conversion of the Hindu Kashmiri Pandits by Mughal Empire ruler Aurangzeb, and he was consecutively persecuted for this and executed by Aurangzeb in 1675. Take Bahadur Mahant Karuka. Guru Gobind Singh Sahib. 1675 to 1708 तक इसका duration था शासन. He created the Khalsa in 1699, changing the six into saints soldiers order for protecting themselves. Last Guru in Guru Gobind Singh Sahib and passed the Guruship of the Sikhs of the Guru Granth Sahib and assassinated uh, by two Afghans sent by the Wazir Khan, जो Mughal ruler of फिर हिंद का था. बंदा बहादुर killed by फखरुल बख्तियार. गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब क्या है? गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब ऑल्सो नोन एज आदि ग्रंथ दरअसल एक सिख लोगों का स्कल्पचर है जो डिजाइन किया हुआ एक बुक है. द ग्रंथ वाज रिटन इन गुरमुखी script and it contains the actual words and verses as uttered by the gurus, six gurus. It is considered the supreme spiritual authority and head of the Sikh religion rather than any living persons. अब कुछ सूफी मूवमेंट है origin land of Kafir where only Hindu state land of Islam Dar ul Harb how the jihad religious war Mujahid attains Jannat on jihad. So Khwaja Ali Ujburi 11th century also known as Dadaganj Baksh Sheikh Bahuddin Jakhiyar 1182 to 1262 founded the leading of Ganga in India at Multan, founder of Saharawardi orders. Khwaja Mohyuddin Chishti, founder of the Chishti order, 1141 to 1236. There are other Sufis, Chishti, Sheikh Hamuddin Nagori, 1192 से 1274. ख्वाजा कुतुबुद्दीन बख्तियार खाकी है जो कुतुबुद्दीन ऐबक में जो बनाया गया है कुतुब मीनार ऑन हिज नेम. ख्वाजा कुतुबुद्दीन बख्तियार खाकी का नाम है कुतुबुद्दीन ऐबक started कुतुब मीनार. Ordered saint of Chishti order Baba Jarud Jid Ganj A Shankar 1175 to 1265 popular known as Baba Farid. Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia popular known as Mahbub e Ilahi. शेख नजमुद्दीन औलिया को ही महबूब ए इलाही भी बोला जाता है. और बाबा जरीउद्दीन या गंज शानदार इसको बाबा फरीद बोला जाता है. सेंट्स ऑफ चिश्ती ऑर्डर सैयद मोहम्मद जेसु दराज पॉपुलर नॉन एज बंदा नवाज. शेख नसीरुद्दीन मोहम्मद लेटर ही वाज नॉन एज चिराग ए देनी. शेख बदरुद्दीन समरकंदी 13th century का फाउंडेड था फिरदौसी ऑर्डर. सूफिज्म शेख फिर मुर्शिद, स्पिरिचुअल टीचर, मुर्शिद, डिसिप्लिन, डिसिपल। खलीफा का मतलब सक्सेसर होता है। खंगा, हॉस्पिस। समा, म्यूजिकल रिसाइकल। रस का मतलब डांस होता है। खाना मतलब सेल्फ निहिलेशन, जियारत। pilgrimage to the tombs of the Sufi saint. Satnami movement in the Central Asia in the 19th century was started by Guru Granth Ghasidas, um, honest from the Chhattisgarh. Tansen was a disciple of Haridas. तानसेन का गुरु कौन था? हरिदास था। अवतार विष्णु, मत्स्य कुर्मा, विराह नरसिम्हा, वमाना परशुरामा, रामा कृष्णा, बलरामा। कृष्णा और बलरामा। बुद्धा और कृष्ण। कल्कि ये अवतार होगा। कोबलर सेंट रविदास। अमीर खुसरो, डिसिपल ऑफ शेख निजामुद्दीन औलिया। फिर नत पंडित दास, सिद्धास और योगी, डिवोशनल रीजनल इन ईस्टर्न इंडिया। राधा और राजस्थान, मीराबाई। worship of gods as Nirankar, uniformless, emphasized in Punjab, India. Dada Dayal Das. Under the leadership of Banda Bahadur, after the death of Guru Gobind Singh, the Sikh involved against Mughals. Khusro, son of Jahangir था। He was assisted by Guru Arjan Dev Ji. महात्मा गांधी जीवन का पहला घटना 1869 to 91। पोरबंदर गुजरात में जन्म हुआ था। पहला 2 अक्टूबर 1869 को पोरबंदर गुजरात में उसका जन्म हुआ था। 1882 में 13 वर्ष की आयु में कस्तूरी से विवाह हुआ था। विवाह 1882 में हो गया। 1869 में जन्म हुआ था 2 अक्टूबर 1869 में पोरबंदर गुजरात का में। 1882 फिर 1888 में इंग्लैंड के लिए प्रस्थान, कानूनी में शिक्षा के लिए इंग्लैंड रवाना। फिर 1891 में बैरिस्टर की डिग्री प्राप्त की और भारत लौटे। मतलब 3 साल तक वहां डिग्री ली है। 1947 तक क्या क्या किया? गांधी युग, प्रारंभिक जीवन और दक्षिण अफ्रीका की सक्रिय है। फिर 1893 से दक्षिण अफ्रीका भी गए थे, साउथ अफ्रीका। दक्षिण अफ्रीका की यात्रा, गांधी दादा अब्दुल्ला के मुकदमे की पैरवी के लिए दक्षिण अफ्रीका गए। पीटर मैरीट्सबर्ग की घटना, नस्ली नस्लीय भेदभाव के कारण ट्रेनों में जबरदस्ती उतारे गए और जिसमें नस्लवाद के खिलाफ सक्रिय शुरू हुआ। नटाल इंडियन कांग्रेस की स्थापना, दक्षिण अफ्रीका में भारत के अधिकारियों के लिए लड़ने के लिए संगठन की स्थापना की। इंडियन ओपिनियन की शुरुआत, दक्षिण अफ्रीका में भारत के लिए जागरूकता बढ़ाने के लिए समाचार पत्र शुरू किया। न्यूज़पेपर स्टार्ट किया साउथ अफ्रीका में। कौन? महात्मा गांधी ही था। जैसे कि 1890 फॉर्मेटल इंडियन कांग्रेस की स्थापना किया था। फिर गांधी युग का प्रारंभिक वर्ष 1904 से 9 तक में फिनिक्स आश्रम का स्थापना, डरबन के पास फिनिक्स में गांधी का आश्रम की स्थापना की 1904 में। सत्याग्रह का विकास 1906 में दक्षिण अफ्रीका में सत्याग्रह दर्शन का विकास किया। सत्याग्रह ये साउथ अफ्रीका में। पहला जेल, गांधी ने दक्षिण अफ्रीका में पहली बार जेल भेजा गया 1908 में, और हिंद स्वराज का रचना 1909 में किया गया। इंग्लैंड में दक्षिण स्वराज, साउथ अफ्रीका आते हुए जहाज पर गुजरा में हिंद स्वराज लिखे। जिला वास्तविक नाम मोहनदास करमचंद गांधी था। पिता का नाम करमचंद गांधी और पुतले भाई था। माता का नाम पत्नी कस्तूरी गांधी। 13 वर्ष की आयु में शादी हो गया था। 1800 से 1888 में लंदन गया था, और 1891 में बैरिस्टर की डिग्री प्राप्त किया। 1891 में भारत लौट कर राजकोट में वकालत शुरू की, और 93 में फिर से साउथ अफ्रीका जाना पड़ा। अब्दुल्ला के मुकदमे की पैरवी करने के लिए साउथ अफ्रीका गए। 2 अक्टूबर 1860 में पोरबंदर, गुजरात। मोहम्मद करमचंद गांधी, फादर का नाम करमचंद गांधी और पुतले भाई मदर का नाम कस्तूरी गांधी। मैरिड एट द एज ऑफ 13 years teaching. He went to London in 1888 में, obtained the degree of barrister in 1891। रिटर्न हुआ। कैरियर ही turned to the in 1891 and started practicing in राजकोट। राजकोट में अपना डिग्री का प्रैक्टिस कर रहे थे, राजकोट में कानून का, लॉ का। फिर 93 में साउथ अफ्रीका के विजय वेंट टू साउथ अफ्रीका टू प्लीड द केस ऑफ द दादा अब्दुल्ला। In South Africa, Gandhi fought against the racial discrimination and laid the foundation of सत्याग्रह। साउथ अफ्रीका में सत्याग्रह का शुरुआत किया। मेजर इवेंट्स, पीटर मैरिट्सबर्ग इंसिडेंट हुआ 1893 में, और में फ्रॉम डरबन टू पीटर्स। गांधी was deported from the first class compartment at Peters Meritburg railway station due to the racial discriminations. This incident inspired him to fight against racism and discrimination. National Indian Congress at 1894। नटल इंडियन कांग्रेस का स्थापना 94 में किया। फिर 1903 में ये स्टार्टेड द मैगजीन टू रेज द इश्यूज ऑफ इंडियंस। मैगजीन स्टार्ट किया गया। हिंदू स्वराज 1909 में। हिंदू स्वराज का रचना गुजराती के पीपल लोगों ने हिंदू स्वराज का रचना कर दिया। महात्मा गांधी के नाम पे इंग्लैंड में दक्षिण अफ्रीका लौटते समय गुजराती भाषा में हिंदू स्वराज पुस्तक लिखी। उन्होंने हिंदू स्वराज बुक का रचना किया। कौन? महात्मा गांधी ने। He established the first ashram in Phoenix, 84 miles from Durban। Develop of सत्याग्रह 1906 में सत्याग्रह का फर्स्ट मूवमेंट was launched against the पोरबंदर एक्ट। फर्स्ट जेल 1908 में गए थे। गांधी जी was inspired for the first time during the सत्याग्रह in the स्वराज 1909 में। While returning from England to South Africa, जब रिटर्न हो रहे थे साउथ अफ्रीका, he wrote the book हिंद स्वराज in Gujarat language on the ship, in which he presented the philosophy of Swaraj and non-violence। Return of India 1915 में फिर रिटर्न आ गया। 9 जनवरी 1915 गांधी जी रिटर्न हो गया फ्रॉम साउथ अफ्रीका। दिस डे इज सेलिब्रेटेड एज पर ऑल्सो भारतीय दिवस 9 जनवरी को मनाया गया था इन इंडिया में। गांधी अराइव्स, गांधी जी अराइवल एंड अर्ली वर्क इन इंडिया। उसके बाद का वर्क। गांधी जी पॉलिटिकल गुरु, इसका पॉलिटिकल गुरु गोपाल कृष्ण गोखले थे गांधी जी का। गोखले एडवाइज्ड गांधी जी टू टूर द कंट्री फॉर 1 year to understand the social political situation of India। साबरमती आश्रम 1915 में गांधी जी established Pocharam Ashram in Ahmedabad, which was shifted to the Sabarmati Ashram in 1917 due to the plague on the banks of the Sabarmati River। प्लेग का बीमारी चला था। ऑपरेशन इन द फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर 1914 से 18। गांधी जी encouraged Indians to join the British army, hoping that they would make the British government soft on Indian demands। For this, he was given the title of Kesare Hind। 17 which was later returned during the non-cooperation movement. Indians called him a recruiter. Ahmedabad mill workers. 1918 1992 में चंपारण सत्याग्रह. After the successful Champaran Satyagraha 1917 में Champaran 1917 Mahatma Gandhi focused on the issues of mill workers in Ahmedabad in 1918. Cause of dispute conflict between workers and mill owners over the flag corners. Ahmedabad mills worker movement. Issue of dispute during the plague epidemic. Workers were in the additional bonus after the plague ended. Mill owners decided to discontinue the order. Workers strongly opposed the discontinuation of the bonus. Gandhi made the workers understood their grievance and support their demand. 1917 में चंपारण सत्याग्रह हुआ था. Demand workers should receive a 30% bonus due to the interest cost of living cost when World War II first. Fast to strengthen the strike, Gandhi went on a hunger strike, fast unto death. His fast put significant pressure on mill owners. Attribution values under the pressure from the Gandhi's fast in the workers' strike. Mill owners agreed to refer the dispute to an attribution tribunals. Tribunal decision. The attribution tribunal ruled in favor of the workers. It ordered the mill owners to provide 30% body to the workers. Gandhi Satyagraha was explained the worker received their rights bonus. The movement became another example of Gandhi's principle of non-violence resistance. The movement highlights this leadership in protecting workers' right through non-violence means it marked an important milestone in India as freedom struggle, showcasing the power of Satyagraha. In 1918, after the mill workers movement, Mahatma Gandhi focused on the plight of farmers in Kheda, Gujarat. Farmers focused operations from British authority who continued to demand taxes despite crop failure due to the floods and drought. चंपारण सत्याग्रह 1917 खेदा सत्याग्रह 1991 में था. खेदा सत्याग्रह 1990 farmers of Kheda suffered heavy loss due to the natural calamity, making it possible to pay and long ranges revenue despite their inability to pay. The British insisted on collecting taxes. खेदा सत्याग्रह. गांधी का रोल क्या था उसमें? गांधी ऑर्गेनाइज द फार्मर एडवाइस देम to pay the land revenue. As a form of non-violence resistance सत्याग्रह. चंपारण सत्याग्रह 1971. 1918 में खेदा सत्याग्रह खेदा गुजरात का खेदा से शुरू कर दिया था. इसमें जो है हैवी लॉस हो गया था खेदा के पीपल लोगों को. और फार्मर्स लोगों मतलब लैंड रेवेन्यू देने से मना कर रहा था. तो इसी के वजह से खेदा सत्याग्रह हो गया टू फॉर्म ए नॉन वायलेंट रेजिस्टेंस. They mobilized the farmers to stand united against the unjust tax. टैक्स देने से मना कर रहा था फार्मर्स लोगों को, क्योंकि उसका इतना बड़ा हैवी लॉस हो गया था. Due to Gandhi leadership, the farmers resist. The British authority was forced to investigate the issues. The investigation concluded the farmers were unable to pay due to the genuine hardship, and the tax should be waived. As a result, British waived the taxes for affecting the farmers. In 1980 में Gandhi's growing influence, Gandhi work in South Africa had already made him well known in India. So the success of Kheda movement along with the Champaran and Ahmedabad movement, Gandhi established Gandhi as a prominent leader in Indian freedom struggle. Prominent leader बन गया था गांधी. पहला अहमदाबाद मिल मिल स्ट्राइक मिल मूवमेंट, फिर चंपारण सत्याग्रह 1917 में किया था, फिर अहमदाबाद मिल मूवमेंट, फिर खेदा मूवमेंट 1918 से शुरू करके 1919 तक खत्म किया था. The movement marks another milestone in Indian struggle for independence and highlight the power of collective resistance. रोलर एक्ट, इसके बाद 1919 में रोलर एक्ट लाया. After World War One ended 1918, 1419 तक हुआ था फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर. The British introduced the roller act in India 1919 में. The act was passed to curb political activity and suppress India's freedom on movements. Roller Act. Expectations of Indians during World War One. Gandhi's encouraged Indians to join the British Army, stopping the British would grant political concessions to Indians after the war. Contrary to these expectations, Rowlatt Act offered no benefits on reforms for Indians. Provisions of the Rowlatt Act. This act allows the British to arrest and detain individuals without trial, appeal on the legal representation. It was infamously called the no appeal, no lawyer, no argument laws. So the act aimed to serve suppress political dissent and revolutionary activity by giving the British unchecked powers. Rowlatt Act 1919 में होता है. Rowlatt Act was met with widespread opposition from Indians who saw it as a betrayal of their contribution during the wars. So Gandhi and other leaders condemned the act as a oppressive and unjust. गांधी का रेस्पॉन्स क्या था? गांधी launched a nationwide satyagraha movement against the Rowlatt Act 1980. He called the Hurtles strike and peace protest to oppose the act. This movement marked Gandhi's emergence as a national leader and galvanized the Indian masses activity against British rule. Roller Act and the subsequent Satyagraha intensified anti-British sentiments across India. It set the stage for major events like the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1990, which further fueled the Indian freedom struggle. The movement strengthened this leadership and the use of the non-violent resistance as a power of tool against colonial oppression. Jallianwala Bagh massacre 1919 13 अप्रैल 1919 में हुआ था. The arrest of two popular the arrest of two popular leaders, Dr. Satyapal or Dr. Saifuddin Kechel in Punjab sparked a widespread public outrage. The arrest was were linked to protest against the roll attack, leading to unrest and violence in several places. Jallianwala Massacre 13 अप्रैल 1919 में ये इंसिडेंट हुआ था. Large gathering took place at Jallianwala in Amritsar to protest a roller attack and रोलर एक्ट के लिए प्रोटेस्ट कर रहा था जो 1919 में स्टार्ट हुआ. मई जून फिर मार्च फरवरी या जनवरी में स्टार्ट हुआ होगा. In the Amritsar to protest the roller attack and arrest of डॉक्टर सत्यपाल. कौन था? दो लीडर थे, सत्यपाल और डॉक्टर सैफुद्दीन किचेल. At around 5 p.m., Brigadier General Reginald Dyer ordered British troops to open fire on the unarmed crowd without warning. At 5 बजे रात को General Reginald Dyer ordered British troops casualties. Approximately 1,500 people were killed in massacre through official British figures claimed 3,700 and 1,200 injuries. Hunter commissions hit in the enclosed nature of Jalabad with limited and fixed worsened the tragedy as people could not withstand. So Jalabad massacre जो है the time of massacre the Lieutenant Governor of Punjab Mitchell O'Dyer. The victory of India during this period was Lord Chelmsford. After massacre intensified anti-British sentiments and became a turning point in India's freedom struggle. It galvanized national support for non-violent movement led by the Mahatma Gandhi. Jallianwala Bagh massacre. 1940, Udham Singh, an Indian revolutionary, assassinated Mitchell O'Dyer in London as an act of vigilance for his role in the massacre. Investigation. The British government set up the Hunter Committee in 1980, chaired by G.C. Hunter, to investigate the Jallianwala Bagh. The committee criticized tax actions but did not lead to the significant active accountability or justice. The Jalabag massacre exposed the brutality of the British colonial rule, united Indians in their demand for independence. It became the rallying point for the Indian national movement, strengthening the resolve to end British rule. Jalabag massacre. In the same movement, ब्रिटिश रूल को एंड करने का एक जरिया था खिलाफत मूवमेंट 1922 तक चला था खिलाफत आफ्टर वर्ल्ड वॉर वन ऑटोमन खिलाफ कलीफ जिसको खिलाफा बोल रहे तुर्की considered the religious leader of Muslim worldwide was mistreated by the British. So Indian Muslims launched the Khilafat movement to protest against the British mistreatment of the Caliph, the trait of the Caliphate. So the movement, जो है खिलाफत मूवमेंट मिसट्रीट किया गया था छूट बोल सकते हैं the movement aimed to protest the Ottoman Caliphate and restore the Caliph's authority, which was undermined by the Treaty of Sevres. It sought to unite Indian Muslims in a collective resistance against British colonial rule. Gandhi's involvement. Mahatma Gandhi supported the Khilafat movement to foster Hindu-Muslim unity and strengthen the Indian national movement against British rule. Gandhi saw it as an opportunity to bring Muslims into the broader struggle for India's independence. Khilafat 1992 to 90. Initially, the movement led by the Ali brothers. पहला अली ब्रदर्स छेड़ा था अली ब्रदर्स सुखत अली और मोहम्मद अली Later, the leaders were handed out to Mahatma Gandhi, who was integrated and non-cooperation movement. इसके बाद non-cooperation movement को कहा हुआ है The movement involved protests, boycotts, and hurdles against British authority. Gandhi encouraged non-violent resistance and urged Indians to boycott British groups, courts, and institutions. Outcome क्या निकला? The Khilafat movement strengthened Hindu-Muslim unity for a brief period and boosted Indian national movement. However, the movement lost momentum after the abolition of Khilafat by the Muslim. Mustafa Kemal Atatürk in Turkey in 1944. The Khilafat movement marked a significant step in uniting diverse community in India against British rule. It strengthened Gandhi's leadership and popularized the strategy of non-violent resistance on national scale. The alliance with non-cooperation movement laid the foundation for future mass movements in Indians' freedom struggle. Non-cooperation movement 1920. Our non-cooperation movement 1920 launched by the Gandhi in August 1920 after Rowlatt Act. 1919 का फरवरी या जनवरी मार्च कुछ समथिंग 1990 में उसके बाद ही डॉक्टर सत्यपाल को अरेस्ट कर लिया गया था और कुछ लीडर था जिसकी वजह से प्रोटेस्ट किया जा रहा था इसी प्रोटेस्ट में जनरल डायर ने ऑर्डर दे दिया विदाउट वार्निंग, मुसलमान फायरिंग करने लगा, जिसकी वजह से जालियांवाला बाग मस्करी हुआ 13 अप्रैल में। फर्स्ट मेजर मास मूवमेंट अगेंस्ट ब्रिटिश रूल, non-violent movement to resist British rule and to withdrawing cooperation with from British institutions. Gandhi returned Kesare Hind medal to set example, inspired mass precipitation in boycott impact. United Indians promoted Swadeshi goods, reduced use of British products, led to national schools, strengthened Gandhi's leadership and non-violence, laid foundation of future freedom movement, and stopped February 1922 में after चोरी चौरा violence 1922 में हुआ था. Gandhi withdrew due to the division for non-violent violence. चोरी चौरा इंसिडेंट 1922 में हुआ था 5 फरवरी. 5 फरवरी 1922 में चोरी चौरा गोरखपुर डिस्ट्रिक्ट यूपी पुलिस फाइट ऑन a procession of farmers protesting as part of the non-cooperation movement. प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे थे नॉन कॉपरेशन में, तो ये सच 5 फरवरी 1922 को चल पुलिस लोगों फायर करेगा, इसलिए चोरी चोरा इंसिडेंट जो का फरवरी 1922 में होता है. इंटरेस्ट द crowd set a police station of firing, killing 22 policemen. चोरी चोरा इंसिडेंट 5 फरवरी. गांधी का रिएक्शन क्या था? गांधी seeing the movement turn violent decided to call off the non-cooperation movement. He believed that the movement has deviated from its non-violent principles. Chori Chora incident. Many Indian soldiers criticized Gandhi's decision to end the movement. Subhash Chandra Bose called it a national calamity. Leaders like Chittaranjan Das, Lala Lajpat Rai, Motilal Nehru also opposed to this decision. Chori Chora incident. Gandhi instead. Gandhi remained firm on his decision and emphasized the importance of non-violence. He believed that continuing a violent movement would harm the cause of independence. So outcome, the non-cooperation movement was officially withdrawing in February 2022. Non-cooperation movement को छोड़ दिया गया फरवरी 1922 में. And despite initial criticism, most leaders eventually accepted Gandhi's decision. The freedom struggle but reinformed the principle of Ahimsa. The event paved the way for the future movement with a renewed focus on non-cooperation movement. जैसा स्वराज पार्टी का स्थापना 1923 में किया गया. After the suspension of the non-cooperation movement in 1922, some leaders disagreed with Mahatma Gandhi's approach of non-violent resistance and withdrawal from the government institution. So leaders like Chittaranjan Das, Motilal Nehru believed in working within the system to believe self-rule. In March 1923, Chittaranjan Das and Motilal Nehru founded the Swaraj Party in Allahabad. मार्च 1923 में कौन सा पार्टी का स्थापना किया गया? स्वराज पार्टी. मोतीलाल नेहरू और चित्तरंजन दास. The party was formed as a faction within the Indian National Congress to pursue the political reforms. इसमें पॉलिटिकल रिफॉर्म्स के बारे में बात किया जा रहा था. स्वराज पार्टी. Swaraj Party and to enter the legislative councils under the British system to obstruct and reform, reform it from within, pursuing for self-government. It sought to challenge British authority by participating in elections, unlike Gandhi's boycott strategy. Swaraj Party. चित्तरंजन दास served as a स्वराज पार्टी का स्थापना 1923 में मार्च 1923 में किया गया था, क्योंकि नेशनल नॉन कॉपरेशन मूवमेंट का विड्रॉवल से चित्तरंजन दास, मोतीलाल नेहरू इस लोगों मतलब सेटिस्फाइड नहीं था, तो इसके लिए वो स्वराज पार्टी का स्थापना किया. सब चित्तरंजन दास served as the president and Motilal Nehru was a key leader of Swaraj Party. Other prominent members included Vittal Bhai Patel or Malviya. Swaraj Party, the party participated in the 1923 elections, won several seats in the Central Legislative Assembly and provincial councils. Swarajist obstruct British policies in the councils by rejecting budgets and demanding reforms. Swaraj Party provided an alternative approach to achieving self-rule, complementing Gandhi's non-cooperation strategy, exposed the weakness of British legislative reform and kept the demands for Swaraj alive in political forums. The party bridged the gap between moderates and extremists within the Congress, strengthening the freedom movement. The party weakened after the death of Chittaranjan Das 1925 में, gradually merged back into the International Congress, but the late 1930 many Swarajis rejoined Gandhi's movement, such as the civil disobedience movement. Simon Commission 1928 में आता है. In India, and recommended changes to the government of Indian Act. It aimed to review the processes, statutes, and reforms under British rule. Composition. The commission was led by Sir John Simon and consisted of 7 British members. It had no Indian members, which was seen as an insult by Indians. The Simon Commission. Indian correction का था. India felt humiliated, believing that British members alone could not decide their future. The Indian National Congress जो other groups called for a nationwide boycott the commission. Rebellion protest. The Simon Commission acts in Bombay on 3 February 1920 was created nationwide strike in Delhi. The protest was held Black Flags slogan of Simon Go Back. Lahore protest, major political protest. Was led by Lala Lajpat Rai against the commission. The police resorted to brutal charge to dispute the crowd. Death of Lala Lajpat Rai. Lala Lajpat Rai was severely injured during the lathi charge in Lahore and died a few days later. 17 नवंबर 1928 को मर गया. His death attributed to injuries from the police actions fueling anti-British sentiments. So Simon Commission, the boycott of Simon Commission united Indians across political groups against British rule. It highlighted the demand for self-deterrence and exposed British disregarded for Indian representations. Protest and Lala Lajpat Rai death intensified the struggle, freedom struggle, being the way for future movement like the civil disobedience movement. Civil disobedience movement महात्मा गांधी का द्वारा लॉन्च किया गया था एज ऑफ नॉन कॉपरेशन मूवमेंट, becoming the second major Muslim movement in India. Attempt to pressure and British government to meet and divide for self-rule through non-violence resistance. The movement 1930 से 34 तक रन किया था. टू फेज में डिवाइड किया था. फर्स्ट फेज 30 से 31 सॉल्ट मार्च और विड स्प्रेड प्रोटेस्ट पहला. सेकेंड फेज में 32 से 34 resumed after negotiation failed continued till 1932. The movement was a form of non-cooperation of unifying British law and policies demanding greater political rights and eventually independence. It involved breaking unjust laws such as salt tax to challenge British authority. Key events: Salt March. Gandhi launched the march movement with Salt Dandi Salt March in March 1993, walking 240 miles to produce salt and define of the British salt monopoly. The Salt March symbolized resistance against the oppressive British economic policies. Indian boycott British goods, packed liquor shops, and refused to pay taxes. Bose and Gandhi-Irwin Pact. The first phase ended with Gandhi-Irwin Pact, March 1931, where Gandhi agreed to suspend the movement in exchange of the concession like prisoner release. The movement resumed in 1932 when the British failed to meet Indian demands. The movement galvanized national support and brought international attention to India's freedom struggle. It strengthened Gandhi's leadership and popularized civil disobedience as a tool for resistance. It pressured the British to negotiate and laid the groundwork for future independent movement. The movement was officially withdrawal in 1934 due to the repression and lack of immediate results. Despite its and it significantly weakened British authority and its fight future history. Gandhi Salt March 1930 में महात्मा गांधी presented 11 demands to the Viceroy of India, Lord Irwin, including the release of the political prisoners and the reduction of military expenditure. When Lord Irwin did not address these demands, Gandhi decided to launch a protest movement, दांडी मार्च 1930 से स्टार्ट किया गया था मार्च 1930 6 अप्रैल 1930 तक चला था दांडी मार्च was launched to protest British salt tax which imposed a monopoly on salt production themselves. It marks the beginning of the 7 days obedience movement aimed to defying unjust British laws. दांडी मार्च 12 मार्च 1930 से began 12 मार्च 1930 from साबरमती आश्रम to दांडी तक चला था गुजरात का दांडी the distance between the so 240 मील देखा था 240 दांडी recognized 78 followers for different regions of India at start and 78 followers था so as March processed thousands of people joined time and reached Dandi the number of friends to make the march began a symbol of mass resistance against British rule. On reaching Dandi, Gandhi picked up a handful of salt on 6 April 1936, symbolically breaking the British force. This act inspired the widespread defiance of salt law across India. The Dandi Salt March was highly effective, galvanized national, international, and support for Indian freedom struggle. It popularized the 7 days obedience movement and encouraged Indians to break unjust laws. Dandi, the march suppressed the power of non-violence. Gandhi का leadership. Subhash Chandra Bose compared to historic marches of Mussolini, Napoleon, highlighting its monumental impact. It weakened British resistance at the stage for future negotiations such as the Canadian Pact. The British emphasized the Round Table Conference in London 1932 to discuss constitutional reform for British. This conference aims to allow various Indian groups to present their views and demands. Round Table Conference 30-32 Round Table Conference 30-32 on each year. First conference November 30 second September से December 31 में third 32 November December. Mahatma Gandhi participated only the second round table. 31 November December. Role of sole representative of International Congress. They attended after the Gandhi-Irwin Pact, hoping to negotiate for greater Indian. The conference included representatives from various Indian communities, princely state, and political groups, along with British officials. Discussions focused on issues like federal structure, minority rights, and the framework for new constitution. The conference failed to reach the consensus due to the disagreements among Indian groups and British reluctance to grant null self-rule. The second conference attended by Gandhi ended with significant, leading to resumptions of the civil disobedience movement. Goal Round Table Conference. क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट 1942 में होता वर्ल्ड वॉर सेकेंड 1939 से 1942 तक चला था And quit India movement. British tried to recruit Indian into their army as they during World War जैसा 1419 तक चला था. India War British material World War first refused to assist in war effort. जो क्विट इंडिया मूवमेंट जो है क्रिप्स मिशन 1942 में इंडिया साइन था क्रिप्स मिशन टू इंडिया टू गेन सपोर्ट फॉर द वॉर्स आउट offering limited reforms. The mission failed as India's demand full independence. Gandhi called it a post-dated check on a crashing bank. Launch of movement. After Cripps mission failure, Gandhi launched the Quit India movement in August 1994, demanding the immediate British withdrawal, also known as August Kranti. It was one of the India's largest freedom struggle. Gandhi gave the slogan "Do or Die" for a number, urging India to fight non-violent for complete independence. The movement aimed to paralyze British administrations through mass protesting and non-cooperation. British launched Operation Zero Hour, arresting Gandhi and most Congress leaders. Gandhi was imprisoned in Aga Palace, Pune, and the British tried to suppress the movement. खत्म करना चाहा. But despite arrest, second line leaders like Jayaprakash Narayan and Arun Asaf Ali continued the movement for underground. People across India participated through strikes, protests, and stage of the British infrastructure. The movement saw massive public participation, making it one of the most significant uprisings against British rule. It became British control and demonstrated India's unified demand for independence. The Quit Indian movement marked the final major push for independence, pressuring the British to consider leaving. Consider. When was the Mahatma Gandhi first added Gandhi's 15 में महात्मा कब कहा गया 15 में 1950 1970 1970 Ramnath Tagore gave Gandhi the title Mahatma in 1972 in the Champaran city. When did Mahatma Gandhi go to South Africa? 1888. When did uh, तिरानवे में रिटर्न आए थे गया था रिटर्न 1991 में बताया था साउथ अफ्रीका सबसे रिटर्न आ गया 93 में रिटर्न आया when did uh, Gandhi first go to South Africa साउथ अफ्रीका कब गया था तिरानवे 1993 में India went to South Africa in 1993 to work on the level of racial discriminations. Who visited Gandhi? Who visited Gandhi in South Africa? Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Gopal Krishna Gokhale political group visited him in South Africa. 1912. When did Gandhi go to London to study? Gandhi went to the London in 1888 to study law at the University. Movement. Women Temple. Who was the first Indian to receive Bharat Ratna posthumously? Lal Bahadur Shastri. Lal Bahadur Shastri was the first Indian to receive the Bharat Ratna posthumously in 1966. At which Congress session did Gandhi preside? National Welcome 1920. Belgium. India presided over the Belgian Congress session in 2022 and outside the policy. When did Mahatma establish the Sabarmati Ashram? आने के बाद 1915 में established किया हुआ था जब established the Sabarmati Ashram in 1915 as a center for activity. When did Mahatma completed his law degree in 1891? Gandhi completed his law degree in 1891 by studying at Temple. So why did Gandhi detained immediate after the launch of the patent movement? Detained. Gandhi को कहा detained immediately after the launch of the Indian movement in Sudan. So आधा half place in इसको रखा गया है पुणे में after launching the patent movement in 1942. Which year Mahatma Gandhi launching his first movement? सबसे पहला movement जो था चंपारण सत्याग्रह 1917 का November 1917. First movement in India was the Champaran Satyagraha in 1970 and to address it. The indigo results से संबंधित है indigo cultivation से indigo farmer exploitation of indigo farmers अहमदाबाद में मिलो स्ट्राइकर्स में when did Mahatma Gandhi started the Gandhi मार्च 1930 से स्टार्ट किया मार्च 12 मार्च 1936 स्टार्ट किया The Gandhi March began on March 1930 to protest the British salt tax lasting 24 hours and ending 6 April 1930. When was the Gandhi Airport Act signed? 1942 तो नहीं मार्च 5 मार्च 5 मार्च 1931 5 मार्च 1931 को प्राप्त करना Gandhi Airport Act signed 5 March 1931, leading to the Gandhi's participation in the second round table conference. When did Mahatma Gandhi return to India from South Africa? 1915 को return हुआ Gandhi returned to India on January 1950. This day celebrated Privacy Bharati Divas. इसी दिन प्रवासी भारतीय दिवस we should acknowledge American Gandhi. Prince Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, John F. Kennedy, America. Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King Jr. Co-American Gandhi was due to his non-violent civil rights movement inspired by Gandhi, which year was Gandhi named Time Magazine Person of the Year. Gandhi named Time Magazine Person of the Year. Also, Mr. Desmo named Time Magazine Person of the Year 92 for his leadership in South West. So, who was the political guru of Mahatma Gandhi? Gopal Krishna Gokhale was the Gandhi's political mentor, guiding him for politics. फर्स्ट शेड्यूल में क्या क्या आता है फर्स्ट शेड्यूल अब कुछ शेड्यूल के बारे में आता है शेड्यूल्स ऑफ इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पहला शेड्यूल नेम ऑफ द स्टेट और इसका टेरिटरी आता है नेम ऑफ यूनियन टेरिटरीज एंड देन इसका एक्सटेंड कितना फैला है फर्स्ट शेड्यूल में रखते हैं सेकंड शेड्यूल में provisions related to President of India, Governor of States, Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Chairman and Deputy Chairman of Rajya Sabha, Speaker and Deputy Speaker of Legislative Assembly in the state, Chairman and Deputy Chairman of the Legislative Council in the states, Judges of Supreme and High Court. The Comptroller Auditor General of India, second schedule में third schedule में forms of oaths and affirmations of the Union Minister, candidate for election to the President, members of President, the judges of the Supreme Court, Controller and Auditor General of India. इससे related forms of oath रखते हैं State Minister, candidate of election to the State Legislature, members of State Legislature, judges of High Court. Fourth schedule में allocation of seats in Rajya Sabha to the states and the union territories. Fifth schedule में provisions related to administration and control of scheduled areas and tribes. Sixth schedule में provisions related to administrations of tribal areas in the state of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura and Mizoram. Article 244 of Indian Constitution provides for administration of scheduled areas and tribal areas through the fifth and sixth schedules. The sixth schedule, which falls under Article 244 clause 2, specifically involves the creation of autonomous district council ADC in the tribal areas of the states like Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, and Mizoram. Seventh, division of powers between union and the state in terms of list 1 unionist, list 2 stately, and list 3 concurrent. Presently, the union contains 98 subjects, originally 97. The state contains 59 subjects, and the concurrent 52. Is 7 schedule map, division of state union, state or concurrent. 8 schedule में language recognized by the constitution. पहले तो 14 लैंग्वेज था, अब मॉडिफाइड प्रेजेंटली 22 लैंग्वेज है. दीज आर असमीज, बंगला, बोडो, डोगरी, गुजराती, हिंदी, कन्नाडा, कश्मीरी, कोंकणी, मैथिली, मलयालम, मणिपुरी, मराठी, नेपाली, उड़िया, पंजाबी, संस्कृत, संताली, सिंधी, तमिल, बंगाली और उर्दू. सिंधी को ऐड किया गया है 21st कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 1967 के तहत. कोंकणी, मणिपुरी और नेपाली को ऐड किया गया 71st अमेंडमेंट एक्ट के तहत. कोंकणी, मणिपुरी और नेपाली. और 92 अमेंडमेंट एक्ट के तहत बोडो, डोगरी और मैथिली संथाली को ऐड किया गया. 96 अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 2011 के तहत उड़िया को ऐड किया गया. 9th शेड्यूल में एक्ट और regulations आता है of the state legislature dealing with the land reforms and abolition of the Zamindari system and the parliament dealing with other matters. This schedule was added by first amendment act, जिसमें area, union and its bound union territories और their extent के बारे में बात करते हैं. First amendment act 1941. Laws included in for judicial review on the grounds of violation of fundamental rights. However, the Supreme Court ruled that the laws included in this schedule after 24 April 1973 are now open to judicial review. 10th Amendment. Provisions related to disqualification of the members of parliament and state legislature on the ground of defections. This schedule was added by 52 Amendment Act of 1985, also known as anti-defection law. Eleventh specifies the power, authority and responsibility of पंचायत. 29 मैटर के बारे में बात करते हैं. ये 73rd अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 1992, 73rd. 74th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट में म्युनिसिपैलिटी authority and responsibility of municipality. 18 मैटर्स. 29 मैटर है पंचायत. The schedule was added 24th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 1992. पार्ट 1 में 1 से 4 होता है, यूनियन और इट्स टेरिटरी के बारे में बात करते हैं. पार्ट 2 में सिटीजनशिप 5 से 11 तक रहता है. 12 से 35 तक फंडामेंटल राइट्स है. 36 से 51 तक फंडामेंटल डीपीएसपी है, डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल ऑफ स्टेट पॉलिसी. 51A, आर्टिकल 41A पार्ट 4A के अंडर आता है. इसमें फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज का डिस्कशन है. ये फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज जो है 42 अमेंडमेंट एक्ट के तहत ऐड किया गया. और आर्टिकल 52 52 से 151 तक यूनियंस के बारे में रखा गया. स्टेट्स के बारे में कितना से कितना 152 से 237 तक रखा गया. पार्ट 6 में आता है. और इसके बाद पार्ट 7 में रिपील्ड बाय 7th अमेंडमेंट ऑफ 1956 ये रिपील किया जाता है. फिर 238 इसके अंडर जाता है. 239 से 242 तक यूनियन टेरिटरीज के बारे में बात किया जाता है, जो पार्ट 8 में आता है. और पंचायत 243 और तक पंचायत के बारे में 73rd अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 1992 के तहत ऐड किया. 74th अमेंडमेंट म्युनिसिपैलिटीज को 243 पी से जेड जी तक, फिर जेड एच से जेड टी तक 243 कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी रखा गया. 97th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 2011 के तहत ऐड किया गया. और पार्ट 10 में आता है 244 से 244A, शेड्यूल एंड ट्राइबल एरियाज, 245 से 263, रिलेशन बिटवीन यूनियन एंड स्टेट्स स्टेट्स रखा जाए। 263 से 300 तक किसको रखना, फाइनेंस प्रॉपर्टी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट और सूट्स रखना है। 301 से 307, ट्रेड कॉमर्स एंड इंटरकॉर्स विद इन इंडिया। पार्ट 13 में, पार्ट 14 में 308 से 323, सर्विस अंडर द यूनियन एंड स्टेट्स रखा गया। आर्टिकल 323 से ए और 323 भी ट्राइब्यूनल रखा गया फॉर लीगल में। 324 से 329 ए पार्ट 15 में आता है इलेक्शन रखा गया। 330 से 342 तक स्पेशल प्रोविजंस related to classes plus ST, OBC or general environments. Part 17 में आर्टिकल 343 से 51 तक रखते हैं, जिसमें ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज के बारे में क्या रहते हैं। 352 से 360 तक इमरजेंसी प्रोविजंस रखे गए हैं। पार्ट 18 में होता है। पार्ट 17 में मतलब ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज रखते हैं। पार्ट 19 में 361 से 367 तक मिसलेनियस रखे गए। 368 में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अमेंडमेंट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन रखा है। पार्ट 20 इसमें रहते हैं। पार्ट 21 में 369 से 392 टेम्परेट प्रोविजन और स्पेशल प्रोविजन। शॉर्ट टाइटल कमेंसमेंट और अथॉरिटी टैक्स इन हिंदी एंड रिपल्स, जो है पार्ट 22 में 393 to 94। Alex Charionian stated about the state with the type of politics, territorial area of country, name of the state that is in the federal system. Federation of the state, a federation is formed as a result of agreement among the states. Union of the state. States have no right to secede from the federation. So at the time of independence, Prince state, British state, Article 1 of territory, area of the country, territory of the states, union territory, and the quarter state. Territory of Indian or territory of to be acquired in future. Entitlement union territories are acquired by experience or a territory of state segment. तो इसी आर्टिकल को थोड़ा एडमिट किया गया था 26 अप्रैल 1977 और न्यू स्टेट्स का फॉर्मेशन का जो आर्टिकल 3 में आता है। तो जून 2014 को इंडिया was separated from northwestern part of Andhra Pradesh to form new state Telangana. Territory of state जो है न्यू स्टेट के लिए in case डिक्रीज कर सकते हैं साइज को अंतर द बाउंड्रीज ऑफ द स्टेट द नेम ऑफ द स्टेट नाम में चेंज करते हैं स्टेट states that in order to implement the Article 2 and 3, parliaments do not need any constitutional the first part of simple majority by ordinary legislative process. Citizenship Article 5 may provide for citizenship on commencement of the Constitution. Article 6 may provided right of citizenship for certain persons who have migrated to India and from Pakistan. Article 7 will provide rights of citizenship of certain migrants to Pakistan. To Pakistan warfare fighters to India. So Article 7 must provide a right of citizenship to certain persons of Indian origin. India में the origin covered by which state में the Article 7 में outside India. Article 9 provided that if any person voluntarily acquired the citizenship of foreign countries, foreign states, with no longer to be citizen of India. The more India a citizen when Article 9 was specific. Article 10 में confidence of the right of citizenship. ये contributed चौथा है right of citizenship जो से father से उसका son है. ये confidence चलता है Article 10 में चलता है Article 11. Article to regulate the right of citizenship. Citizenship Act 1955 or 56 acquired citizenship by birth by descent by registration के through by uh, naturalization by incorporate category. और लॉस का तो नियम reunification termination or deprivation. Silent features of DPSP directly principle of state policy. The concept is borrowed from the Irish Constitution. Their objective is to help establish social and economic democracy. DPSP reflect the version of the welfare state as outlined in the Constitution. So this served as a measure to assess laws based on their alignments with constitutional ideas. So novel features resemble the instrument of the instructions as contained in Government of India Act 1935 when Ambedkar. DSP have moral and political sections. Comments on the DSP. Moral concepts for the authority of the state. Being conscience of constitution and furthering the goal of social exclusion. Check payable by the bank at its own convenience. It is a manifesto of aims and aspirations is revealed. Article 36 definition of a state defines the term state as it is used in Part 3. So the meaning of the state here is the same as in Article 12 in the fundamental rights. Fundamental rights are the set of legal enforceable rights. Selling picture of fundamental rights. They are not absolute, no limit. They have, but have limits. They are not Necrosense of people satellite during emergency, improving never suspended. They are justiciable in nature. Article 12 definition of a state. It defines the term state, which includes the government, union, and state of government of India, the legislature of each of the states, and all local and other authorities within the territory of India. Laws inconsistent with or in derogations of the fundamental rights. Any law made before the commencement of the Constitution shall be declared invalid or void by judiciary if it violates the fundamental rights. Law includes any ordinance ordered by law, rule, regulations, notification in the territory of India. So these articles shall not apply to any amendment made under Article 368. So others are having right of equality to follow and equal protection of laws, exceptions, precedent, unless governance for given in this cannot be restricted in the notice. Provisions of discriminations on grounds of religious, race, caste, sex, and trade laws about 15 clause on the state shall not discriminate against any citizen on ground or religion, race, caste, sex, and place of birth. No citizen shall on these grounds be subject to any disability, liability, or restriction or condition prohibited regarded to access to shops, public restaurant, hotels, or place of public entertainment or the use of wild stands, bathing ghats, roads, and place of public resorts maintained wholly or part of state fund rules to 15 clause 3. The state can make special provisions for women and children. Few metro states are reserved for women. 15 clause 4. The states can make special provisions for advancement of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Article 16. Equality of opportunity in matters of public employment. Equality of opportunity for all citizens in matter of relating to emolument, appointment of any office under the state. 15, 16 clause 1. 16 clause 2. No citizens shall on the grounds only of religious race, caste, sex, descent, place, or of birth or residence be ineligible for or to discriminate against in respect of any employment or office under the state. Abolition of untouchability, Article 17 Martha. The state and any private individuals are prohibited from practicing untouchability. The term untouchability has nowhere defined in the Constitution. Abolition of title. No title other than being a military or academic distinction shall be conferred by the state. No citizen of India shall accept any title for any foreign states. So no person holding any office of control will shall receive title for any foreign state for the consumer person, etc. Protection of certain rights and freedom of speech within article 1 of the laws of the to freedom of speech and expression. All citizens have the right to freedom of speech and expression, to assemble peaceful and without harms be not the same to hold associations, agreements, or properties in society. They need to move freely throughout the territory of India, even to recite a settle in any part of the territory of India. Join to practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade, or business. Profession in respect of the conviction for offences. So now it's supposed have to law. No person shall be subjected to a penalty greater than that prescribed by law enforced when the crime was committed. So no doubt jeopardy. A person must not be punished twice for the same offense. No self-incrimination. A person cannot be compelled to provide information or testify against oneself, but have to submit blood specimen or thumb impression if asked. Article 21. Protection of life and personal liberty. No person shall be deprived of his life except according to the procedure established by law for compulsory punishment. The foremost right among right to freedom is the right to life and personal liberty. Article 21 and 20 and 21 suspending can no one of suspend to the whole right of life and liberty and respect. 21A right to education. 86 Constitutional Amendment Act 2002 without idea incorrected the right of free. Landmark causes and interpretations. A.K. Gopalan case 1950, the Supreme Court of India took in native rules of Article 21 that it does not guarantee due process of laws. A.K. Gopalan case 1950, the Supreme Court of India took in narrow views of Article 21 ruled that it does not guarantee due process of laws. Article 22 protection against arrest and detention in certain cases. Right to be informed, right to be defined by the legal practitioner, right to be produced before the magistrate within 24 hours, right to be released after 24 hours unless the magistrate authorities for their detention. Only detention occur after a crime has been committed. Preventing detention to prevent a possible future offense. This detention can not exceed 3 months unless in the board of High Court judges approve an extension. Article 36 definition of a state defines the state it is used in part 3. The meaning of a state here is the same as in Article 2 under Article Fundamental Rights. Article 37 application of the principles contained in this part. They are non-justiciable in nature and it is the duty of the state to apply these principles when they making laws and policies. Article 38 state to secure a social order for the promotion of welfare of the people. 38 clause of the state must promote people's welfare by the ensuring justice, social, economic, and political. It should also reduce Inequalities in income, status, facility, and opportunity for the foreigner today. 1978, 39 में certain principles of policies to be followed by the state. The state should work to ensure livelihood for all citizens, fair distribution of resources for the common groups, avoiding concentrations of wealth, wealth production, equal pay for equal works for men and women, protecting workers' health and children from exploitation, closely having proper development opportunity for children. 39 in equal justice and free legal act to poor and weaker sections. Article 41 right. Article 41 organization of the schools and child. 41 right to work education and public assistance in certain cases. 42 justice and human working conditions and maternity leave. 43 living wage in decent working conditions. 43 human workers participation in management of industries. The state shall ensure workers' participation in industry management for the development of economic services. For the third, the promotion of cooperative society. The state shall promote the formation and democratic management of cooperative society. For the form uniform civil code, the state shall endeavor to secure for the citizen a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. Article 15 provision for early childhood care and education. 86 Amendment Act 2002. Change the subject matter of this article shifted focus on early childhood care and education for children below the age of 6 years. Article 46 promotion of educational and economic interest of SCs, STs, and weaker sections. Article 47 duty of to raise nutrition living standards and public health. Article 48 organizations of agriculture and animal husbandry prohibit slaughter of cows, calves, and useful cattle. Article 48 is protection of environment, forest, and wildlife. The state shall protect and improve the environment and safeguard protects the forest and wildlife. 42. Article 15 separation of judicial from executive. 49 to protect all moving places of national importance. 51 protection of international peace and security. कुछ स्टेट्स के बारे में जानते हैं स्टेट्स आर्टिकल 152 टू 37 आर्टिकल 73 से 11 प्लस 89 ऐड करेंगे तो ये बन जाएगा आर्टिकल 112 से 213 प्लस 90 प्लस 22 आर्टिकल ऑफ स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर Key replacement, President, Government, Parliament, State Legislature, Prime Minister, Chief Minister, Council of Minister of State, Attorney General, Honorable General, Consular Type, and of the State. Article 153, Governor of a State. The There shall be a governor for each state. Seventh constitutional amendment allowed for the appointment of some persons as the governor of two or more states. Same person as the two or more states का governor मैनेज कर सकता है. Article 156 term of office of governor. Governor holds office during the pleasure of president. Governor may address his resignation to the president. Term जो होता है 5 years for the date of assuming office subject to higher renewable resignation. Article 154. Executive power of the state. Executive power of the state vesting in the government can be exercised directly or through subordinate officers. 157 qualification for appointment as governor. Must be a citizen of India or at least 35 years. Should have completed 35 years of age. Article 155. Appointment of governor. Governor is appointed by the president by warrant under his hand and serve conversion. Governor should not be domiciled in that state. And CM to be consulted. Article 158. Condition of governor's office. Governors cannot be member of parliament or state legislature, must vacate seat, but before entering office, governor cannot hold any office of profit. Governor is entitled to use official residence without rent, emoluments, and privilege as determined by the parliament. 3. If serving multiple estates, emoluments are set as per presidential order. Former emoluments and allowance cannot be reduced during each term. 159. Oath or affirmation by government. Oath administered by Chief Justice of High Court or in absence senior most judges. Discharge of governor's function. In contingents, president can appoint a person to discharge functions of governors during contingencies. Article 161. Powers of governor to grant pardons. Governor can grant pardons or reprieve, respite, remissions, or commit sentence, but he cannot pardon death sentences. Only president can by pardoning power against martial court sentences. Article 162. Extent of executive power of a state. State's executive power extend to matter on which the state legislature can make laws. Article 163. Council of Ministers to aid and advise governor. Council of Ministers headed by Chief Minister and aids and advises the governor. Advice of Council of Ministers is not blind on the government. Article 164. Other provisions as to ministers. Chief Minister is appointed by governor. Other ministers appointed on CM's advice. Council of Ministers is collectively responsible to the legislative power assembly to state. Ministers must take oaths of office secrecy as administered by the governors. So a minister who is not elected as MLA, MLC within 6 consecutive months cases to be a minister. Salaries and allowance determined by states legislation. Article 165. Advocate General for state. Appointed Advocate General को अपॉइंट किया जाएगा गवर्नर के द्वारा must be qualified to be high court judges. So advises state government on legal matters. Holds office till the government's pleasure. Article 166. Conduct of business of a state government. All of executive actions must be expressed in the name of the governor. Article 167. Duties of chief minister. Communicate decision of council of minister to governor. Legislative state legislature. Article 168 to 2012. Constitute of legislatures and states. Every state shall have a legislature constituted of the government. All states have a legislative assembly, unicameral legislature. Six states have a legislative council as well, bicameral legislature, and they are Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Telangana, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh. सिक्स स्टेट्स के पास भी लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल है आंध्र प्रदेश बिहार तेलंगाना महाराष्ट्र कर्नाटक उत्तर प्रदेश थ्री यूटीज आउट ऑफ 8 have legislative assembly and they are Delhi, Pondicherry, and Jammu and Kashmir. Article 169. Abolition or creation of legislative council. Parliament can create or abolish legislative councils just by simple majority based on resolution passed by the state legislative assembly by a special majority. Such a law is not considered as amendment under Article 368. Article 170. Composition of legislative assemblies. Legislative assembly not less than 60 but not more than 5,000 members should be elected by direct election. Constituencies should have roughly equal population seat ratio. Special cases Goa, Arunachal Pradesh, Sikkim, minimum 30 members, Mizoram 40 members, and Nagaland 146 members. Composition of legislative councils. Article 171. Total members shall not exceed 1/3 of the legislative assembly. Minimum 40 members indirectly elected. Of the total number of members of legislative council of a state, 1/3 elected by members of local authority, municipality, district boards, etc. And 1/12 elected by graduates of 3 years or more. 1/12 elected by teachers with at least 3 years experience. 1/3 elected by legislative assembly members. 1/6 nominated by governors expert in literature, science, arts, cooperative movement, social service, life as cooperative movement. Article 172. Duration of state legislature. Legislature assembly term 5 years from first meeting unless dissolved earlier. So legislative council permanent body one-third members retired every 2 years and term of a member 6 years. 173 qualification for membership must be a citizenship of India. Minimum age 25 years for legislative and 30 years for legislative council. Must pass to other qualifications prescribed by Parliament. Cessation from Jason dissolution, governor, Commission House of the Legislature and maximum capability to session 6 months. Governors will so the person Article 175 governors address and message. Send message to legislative assembly, council on board process assembly and together. 176 special address staff. Government. General election. The first session of each year, government addresses legislative legislature. Article 177 rights of minister and advocate general. Ministers and advocate general can participate in the election proceeding, but cannot vote if they are not a member of the House. Speaker, one fact, and deputy speaker of the legislative assembly legislative assembly elects a speaker and deputy speaker. Article 179. Petition and resignation or removal of speaker and deputy speaker. To be done by the submission passed by majority of the assembly members. Article 150. Duties of deputy speaker. Deputy speaker acts as a speaker when office is vacant or speaker is absent. Speaker and deputy speaker not to preside during consideration of resolution for the on removal. Article 182. Chairman and deputy chairman of legislative council. 182. Article 183. Repression, resignation, removal of chairman, deputy chairman, similar to provisions for speaker and deputy speaker. Articles 182. Duties of deputy chairman. Deputy chairman acts as a chairman when office is vacant or a chairman is absent. Article 185. Chairman or deputy chairman shall not preside when its removal resolve is being considered. Article 186 celebrates and announces of the speaker and deputy speaker chairman dispute. Deputy chairman shall rest and allowance are determined by state legislature. Article 187. Secretaries secretaries of state legislation appointed and regulated by state legislature. Article 188. Most of promotions members. Article 182. Vacation of seats. Seat vacated if the person is in the member of both the houses members residence number becomes subject to disqualification. Article 169. 189. Whether the houses representation for all questions in legislation decided by majority of the members represented and voting and voted. Presiding officers involved in officers. However, asking what the legislature can act as spider offenses. Quorum for everything 10% total membership. 191. Disqualification membership. Disqualification of false office of profit, unsound mind, undischarged, insolvent, disequal, disquality under anti-defection law or other parliament-made laws. 192. Decision or disqualification decided by government or Election Commission of India. ECA. Article 193. penalties for sitting and voting before taking oath when disqualified, fine decided by legislature. 194 powers, privilege, and immunity of state legislature on their members. 195 allowance, salaries and allowance of members. What happened when a bill originated in legislative assembly? Case 1. From legislative assemblies, the bill is forwarded to legislative council, then to governor for her assent to become the bill as case 2. When a bill is passed to legislative assembly, it is forwarded to legislative council, but a legislative council may return the bill to legislative assembly for reconsideration only one time. When legislative assembly may or may not alter the bill, then again sent to the legislative council, and legislative councils have to pass the bill to the governor for his assent. In second case, LC can only delay an automatic bill by maximum 4 months, 3 months in first instance, and for 1 month in second instance. Article 196, Introductions and passing of bills. Bills can originate in either house, any bicameral. Bills must be passed by both houses and assented by governors to become a law. In case of an ordinary bill, legislative assembly have upper hand over legislative council. When a bill originates in the legislative council and if a legislative assembly disagree, then the bill lapses and there is no provisions for joint sitting in part 4. Article 197. Restrictions on powers of legislative council as to bill other than money bill. 198. Special procedure for money bills. Money bill can be introduced only in legislative assemblies, then sent to the legislative council for recommendations. Legislative council cannot reject the bill. It must return to the bill within 14 days. With or without recommendations, if the council forced to do so, the money bill is deemed passed it in its origin form. 199. Definition of money bill. To Article 200 in the Assent of Bills by Governors. 201 bills present for present consideration. Article 202 में annual financial statement. Article 203 procedure in a legislature with respect of to estimate demand for grants made only for the recommendation of the government governor. Article 244 appropriation bills. Article 205 supplementary, additional or excess grants. 206 votes on accounts, votes of credit and exceptional grants. Article 207 special provisions for financial bills. Money bill required prior recommendation of the governor for introduction. Article 208 rules of procedure. Article 209 regulation of procedure relating to financial business. Article 210 language to be used in the legislature. Article 211 restriction on discussion in the legislature. Article 212 courts are not to be required into the legislative proceeding. 213 power to governor or governor to promulgate ordinance during the recess of the governor of the legislature. Article 214 से 21 हाई कोर्ट्स के बारे में 33 से 37 सबऑर्डिनेट कोर्ट्स रोग रोग का स्टडी को पैथोलॉजी बोलते हैं। अब कुछ मैथ किया जाए। लेट्स गो टू मैथ सेक्शंस।